All right, it is now 7 p.m. We are going to go ahead and get started with our panel tonight. And I am so excited for this panel, particularly tonight. I am Rowena. I am the founder of We Believe You SOS, which is supporting our survivors. And our main focus and primary focus is to support survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault, but with a specific focus on our military members, veterans, and our military spouses. And we want to make sure that we continue to advocate for them because often in the community, they are underrepresented. And we just want to make sure that we continue to be a voice for the voiceless, which is our military community and veteran community and military spouse community. So each month for We Believe You SOS, we have these panels, and it is geared towards topics that affect us in the military community. This month for October, I wanted to make sure that we were doing something to highlight our military spouses, because as I was telling Visionary and having a conversation with Visionary, the military spouse community is really a small and underrepresented population when it comes to domestic violence. And I wanted to do something to make sure that we were highlighting those survivors of domestic violence in the military spouse community and make sure that they know and that they understand that, you know, we support them and we believe you, and you are not small, you are not forgotten about, because you all play, and military spouses play a huge role in the military community. So we just wanted to do that for October, for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So instead of myself normally hosting, I decided that I would have an amazing host tonight, which I'm sure a lot of you already know, Visionary Tanya Rankins. She, to me, is the epitome of the representation of the military spouse, as well as, of course, being an entrepreneur and everything else that she does. But I wanted to have her host tonight instead of myself, because she has a little bit more understanding of the military spouse community. So she agreed, she accepted. I'm excited to have her on and to have you all join tonight. Just a little background, like I said, about We Believe You SOS. We were started in probably July of 2020, and we just started off as a 5K. We wanted to do something to show that we supported sexual assault survivors in the military. But I talked to Visionary and some of my other founding members as well, and I wanted to actually turn it into a nonprofit. So finally, in February of 22, we were actually an official nonprofit, which is amazing. So I want to thank her for that too. But we just want to continue to support survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault, especially our military community, which includes the military spouses. And our main objective that we have is we want to be able to provide backpacks for those survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault, because oftentimes after a rape kit is performed for a survivor of sexual assault, they often leave with no clothes on their back because they have to give their clothes to the examiner. They're left with things that are too small or too tight. If you can please put your phones or devices on mute. They're left with things that are too small or too tight, or they don't fit, or they're not catered to their needs. And for the domestic violence survivor, we want to make sure that we're providing healing items as well, and gift cards and a change of clothes, so they can make sure that when they are ready to leave, they are able to sustain and heal for the next 30 days. So that is our ultimate goal. I am no subject matter expert by any means. I don't hold many degrees, but I just wanted to do something to make sure that we were being a voice for the voiceless, which is the military community, veterans, and military spouses. So that's a little bit about us. I have also posted, please make sure if you're in, thank you. I've also posted a link in the chat as well to our website. It will give you a little bit more about us, about our mission, how we were founded. For the month of October, we do have what's called Feel Good Friday. We do ask that for donations, and we ask for any amount that you can give, and if nothing is too great or nothing is too small, just to continue to support our mission and to make sure that we are supporting survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. So that link will be in the chat. It will be up throughout the whole panel. So you are more than welcome to visit our site, make a donation, and continue to support our mission here at We Believe You SOS. So without further ado, I don't want to talk anymore because you're not going to see my face anymore once I introduce my friend, and visionary, and you all know her as visionary. But she is really, really a true friend of mine. She sent me a bio, but I'm not going to go off that bio. If she wants to do her own introduction, that's fine. But I'm going to tell you what I know about her. She is an amazing woman. She is an amazing support system. She often places others' needs before her own. She is a go-getter. She is a hustler. She is an entrepreneur. She is always looking out for others and making sure that others are good. But she is professional. She knows what she wants and she goes to get it. And whether she has little support or a lot of support, it doesn't matter to her. She has a passion and she has a mission, and she is definitely following in that mission. And she has been one of my biggest advocates, biggest supporters. And I'm sure that you all who are on here can say the same thing about her too. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to my friend, my mentor, my biggest cheerleader and supporter, visionary Tanya Rankins.
Hey y'all, how y'all doing? Y'all good? All right, so we're gonna go ahead and dive right on in. Some of you know me, some of you don't, because I see a couple of names up here that I don't know, but as she said, my name is visionary Tanya Rankins. I am one of the founding members of We Believe You. I was one of the driving forces behind pushing Rowena to take this thing a little bit further than what it is. And something that she did leave out is that we accept, they're not really called blessing bags, but they're called care bags. So what it is that we have backpacks that we make with the We Believe You logos on them. And inside those bags, we collect items such as clothing, pads, toothbrush, anything that you can think of that a survivor would need once they go into the hospitals to be checked. Because like she said, they are stripped of everything. They don't get anything back. And so we have these book bags that we collect for the victims and or survivors, because we don't really want to call them victims, and we give it to them. And then we also, in that bag, we have gift cards to let them get food, gift cards so that they can stay in a hotel. If they can't get into a shelter immediately, we have the resources to get them into a hotel for a couple of nights until we can get them into a shelter. So we do a lot of things over here, and We Believe You. And a lot of you that are in ALP was like, wait a minute, when was she over there doing that? But yes, I was. So we do a lot of things within the We Believe You realm. We also have another 5K coming up. So I don't know if you guys seen me share it, seen the link. Make sure that you try to be a part of that. Get you a We Believe You t-shirt so that you can help us get these ladies off to a brand new and fresh start. So one of the other things, I'm going to drop a plug for a young lady that I met. I was at a domestic violence gala a few weeks ago. And she made these fabulous boxes called the Healing Space boxes. So inside the box, there is there's a jar to write stuff and stick it in there, right? Some things you want to overcome. There's a pen, a bracelet, some coloring pads, because we all know that coloring is like a calming factor, right? And of course, there is a journal. I know I have a blur on, so I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a journal in the bottom of it that also says the Healing Space. And I thought that those were amazing. She was going to get on tonight to talk about it, but I will drop her link so that if you guys want to purchase one, you can. I think the boxes are like $20 or something like that. So you get all that for $20. So no further ado, I'm going to introduce my guest speakers tonight, panelists, Mrs. Shanique Color. She is the International Vice President or International President of Alpha Lambda Psi Military Spouses Sorority Incorporated. We are glad to have you with us. Thank you for being brave enough to come on and share your story. And we also have Mrs. Michelle Mapp. She is the president of the Pi chapter of Alpha Lambda Psi Military Spouses Sorority Incorporated in the Tri-States. So ladies, I'm just going to ask you guys a couple of questions. If your phone is not on mute, could you please mute your phone? I'm just going to ask you ladies a couple of questions. Again, feel free to share as much or as less as you are comfortable with sharing. This is a judgment-free zone. So, you know, we are here to support each other. So a little bit about myself also, just to give them some comfortability. I was in a domestic violence relationship for 10 years. I would have to literally go to work, come back home. If I was home a minute after the time that I was supposed to get off of work or the drive that it took me to get home, I met a fist, a chair, or whatever. There were times where I would go to work and I would have to lie to my coworkers because I would have bruises all over my body. And they would say, "What happened to you?" And I would say, "I fell down the stairs, I hit the wall." I was just making up all types of things. My out was when I got tired of getting beat. So we got into a fight, obviously. And I got tired of getting beat. So I actually fought back this time. And when I fought back, I managed to get out of the house because the doors were barricaded. I couldn't get out. My best friend was outside trying to get in to get me because I just knew I was going to die this day. But I got out and I drove to my grandmother's house. And I would always get pulled back in by, "I'm sorry, I love you, come home, I miss you, we can work this out." I always got pulled back in by that. But this time it was no. So the way that I got out by telling my grandmother to go commit me to the mental institution. My grandma drove me to the hospital. I committed myself into a mental institution. I stayed there for a couple of months, and that was my way out. Because once I got out of the mental institution, I had nowhere to go, so I couldn't go back, right? Because at this point, you've now moved on to your next victim. So that was my way out. So my first question to either of you, y'all can feel free to jump in. Why do you think women choose to stay in domestic violence relationships? Go ahead, Michelle.
It doesn't become a choice after a while because you're basically mentally brainwashed. So people on the outside think you're choosing, but you're not. Like every day you're telling yourself, "I want out, I want out, I want out." You know it's not good for you, but the person you're with is basically making you feel like, if you leave me, I can't do this. If you do that, you're abandoning me. Everybody in my life has abandoned me. How are you gonna leave me? So it's brainwash. It's mental brainwash. And once they got you to the lowest, that's it.
Yeah. Are you comfortable with sharing a little bit about your domestic violence story and how you got out?
Oh yeah. I actually went through it for 6.5 years, and it was rough. It was real rough because I had one daughter away at college doing 2 years of it, but my youngest daughter had to witness all of it. So she actually was in the 9th grade when it hit the fan. And when it hit the fan, the violence was bad. Like there was no physical scars where you could see here. All mine was body scars under. Everything was under. You couldn't see arms because I wore scrubs, so I made sure nothing was on my arms, but it was all on body, legs.
Right.
But nobody else could see. He was a smoker. It was good for sticking a cigarette, burning you with the cigarette.
Wow.
Good for, good for body stuff. And the punches and the holding and pinning you down. And I got out because he literally just snapped one day. He was a drinker, heavy drinker. But he was a drinker, and I remember him punching the bathroom mirror mad at me because he's drunk. Because he's not able to do what he wanted to do, so he's mad at me. And he punched the mirror, but my daughter was in the house. So I'm in the house picking up glass piece by piece because I'm being ordered to pick up this glass. Clean it up now. Now, you caused the mess, but I'm being ordered to clean it up. So I'm picking it up piece by piece, but I'm in tears, and he done left. My daughter comes in and she starts picking it up. But as she's picking it up, she stops and she gets a rag and she starts wiping my face. And she said, mind you, she's 14. She says to me, "I remember you sitting me and Sasha down saying, 'Never let a man treat you any type of way. So why do you?'" And that next day, she and my oldest daughter was out the house. She and I sat down and came up with an exit.
Wow.
We literally took her bed apart, emptied out, took everything out the house. I actually rented a place, but did not leave for 2 months.
Wow.
Every day I would just take stuff there. Every day. It'd just be like one bag. So he couldn't see that I was leaving. And like the last week or so, she slept on the floor because her bed was completely apart. The drawers was empty. The only thing was in the drawer was paper and clothes over top of them.
Wow.
And I drove him to work that next morning, and me and her moved in 17 minutes.
Wow, that's deep that your daughter actually sat and helped you come up with an exit strategy. That is
Mhm.
really wow.
And I mean, she was a child, but she was wise enough to know that this was wrong.
Wow.
You know, so and they say, I guess people don't think that your kids watch everything because your kids don't say anything because they're kids, and you know how you tell kids stay in a child's place.
Mm-hmm.
So never ever did either one of my children get into anything,
Wow.
but they see everything.
Wow. So Shanique, why do you think I will ask questions at the end if you don't mind. Shanique, why do you think women typically stay?
I think the majority of women stay because of they lack self-confidence or they're missing something in their life, whether it's an absentee parent, father, like they're missing that love that they think they should get and they don't receive it. So they reach out and they look for it and they end up finding it in the wrong places.
Wow. Okay. And do you feel comfortable with sharing some of your story?
Sure. With me, unfortunately, I didn't have kids with this gentleman, thank God. But it was only abusive for 3 years. I got out after 3 years. He and I dated a little bit after college and stuff. And, you know, he was like, I have an apartment. If you don't want to stay in a dorm, come stay with me. And I was like, okay, I'm tired of staying in a dorm. And that's when everything changed. I came home from school one day, didn't have dinner cooked. He took weights, he put them on my chest. I've been hit with barbells. He's put a belt around my neck and strangled me until I passed out. And I knew for me, I was just like, I can't do this. But he would say, I love you. I'm sorry. Your dad abandoned you. And for me, I thought because I felt that abandonment from my father that, you know, here it is a guy telling me how much he loved me, how much he cared, how much he want to be with me and everything. So I thought this is how they love. And one day I got tired of it because my friend, she was saying, you don't have to go through this. I was like, I know, but he loves me. He bring me flowers. He tell me he's sorry. And I go back every time. And one time he just took a bat and he just beat me and broke my knee. And I was just like, this is it. I can't do this no more. He's literally going to kill me. So I made him some soup and I put just enough rat poison in it to where he would go to sleep. And when he went to sleep, I left. I left clothes, I left everything. And I moved from New Jersey and went all the way to Alabama and stayed with my best friend until he could no longer find me. And I didn't come out of hiding for like a year and a half. Nobody knew where I was.
Wow. And this was when you were in school, right?
I was in college. I was like 19, 20. It was like right before I got out of college.
Wow. Wow. So, of course, obviously, as we all got a little bit older and kind of overcome some of those obstacles, we are now in military spouses or in the military or married to someone in the military. Michelle, I'm not sure if you and your husband was active at the time when you guys were going through this. But my question to you is that, because I know for myself, I've seen a lot of domestic violence situations on both ends. A little bit about the two that I've witnessed. I had a neighbor that was connected to me. You know, those houses are connected townhouses. And the wife was the abuser, right? She was beating her husband, but then he was the one who got arrested and taken to jail and had to leave the premises of the home. And then a few doors down, where the guy was the abuser to his wife, and I would see this out the window constantly when we lived on the installation, but she didn't speak up and say anything. So why do you think military spouses don't speak up? I know I have my theory as to why they don't speak up, but what are your thoughts on why you feel they don't speak up?
Well, my opinion was that they favored the enlisted, and you were kind of silent.
Wow.
Now, the gentleman that I had the 6.5 year with was not military. When I was married, we had tad bit of violence. And when I went to his commanding officer, it was like, okay, that's normal. Handle it at home.
Mm.
And that was it. But like you just said, one of my best friends when I was down there, Seymour Johnson, they were going through it, and she was constantly going to his CO, and nothing was going on, like till she literally had to leave and go back home.
Wow.
So,
Wow. Same question, Shanique. Why do you think the military spouse does not speak up when they are in a domestic violence relationship?
I think fear of losing their lifestyle. Some people they're very dependent on their spouse that's in the military. So I think they don't speak up out of fear of, if I go back home, I'm gonna have to live in the projects. I don't have a job. I don't have an education. They're lacking a lot of things, and they think if they say something, they're gonna lose their life. So they rather endure everything they're going through versus leaving and starting over because they don't think that they can start over.
Wow. Yeah, that's about the way I see it as well. When we have our panel discussions, myself, Rowena, and the rest of our team, that is one of the things that we talk about, is that the military spouse is fearful of what she will lose if she goes, or even he go and speak up. I have another question that I want to ask. Either of you can jump in first. It doesn't matter. There are a lot of males that suffer domestic violence at the hands of women. Even, growing up in life, they suffer it. Why don't they speak up? Do you think it's fear of being judged because they're a man and they're not supposed to say anything? Or do you just think ultimately that they are afraid to speak up?
I definitely think that it's a masculine thing. If they go to their friends and find out, hey, my wife is beating me, they'll be looked down upon like they're less of a man. So they're shamed and stuff like that. So I really think that they don't speak up because of that. They'll feel weak, and, they're trying to figure out the word to say here. They just,
they're embarrassed.
they're
really
embarrassed.
Yeah, they're really embarrassed. And the last thing a man want to feel is like, I'm weak, man. I'm a man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on now. But
Yeah.
it happens a lot.
It does. It is. It's actually, statistics show that there are more male victims than it is female. And they refuse to speak up and speak out and say that they are being abused or they are being raped. One of the things that we notice when We Believe You is that a lot of the male victims are being raped in the military by women and men. And they're not speaking up. They're not saying anything about it. And that's really sad. Let's see. Why do you think, because I know that a lot of people try to downplay the role of military spouses. Why do you guys think that the role of the military spouse is so important?
Well, for me, I think it speaks volume to your character, your integrity, and stuff like that. But you also have it's like a double-edged sword. In society, there's this stereotype of, if you're in the military, you have all of this money, you have all of these things going for you. And that's not necessarily the case, because there are a lot of military families that struggle to make ends meet. So you have, okay, we're a one income household. We have 4 kids. We can't do X, Y, and Z. So you have that stigma that's out there that everybody tries to stick to, or keeping up with the Jones, as they say, when they really can't do it. So a lot of military spouses, they take on something, that stereotype that's been put out there, that they really shouldn't be taking on, because everybody's situation is different.
Yes, and another thing is that they're holding it down. Like, a lot of these guys are away. I mean, not all the time. There's some guys that's not deployed, but when they're deployed, they're holding it down. Like, you're carrying everything. I understand that money is still coming in, but you're carrying the entire weight. You're the mom still. You're still the wife while he's away. You're the mom. You're the teacher. You're the chauffeur. You're the babysitter. You're everything. You're the bill payer. you have to carry it down. There is a heavy load. And although he might be fighting a war, he might be in training, your clock is 24 hours. His clock is 10, 12.
Right.
And they don't look at it that way. They be like, they think you just sit up, eat bonbons all day long. And it is not that way. You know, my sister's husband was in the military a couple decades and traveling with the kids, moving from place to place, packing up your house, starting all over, getting your kids acclimated to new schools, you know, adjusting to new homes. And some of the homes aren't that nice. Everybody think that base housing is just palaces.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know, I mean, you can talk to people who are military wives, and if you really want to do some research, you can go do research. It is not like that.
Yeah. So Michelle, you said that your daughter helped you come up with the exit strategy. Did you ever feel that you needed to, did you provide her with some type of counseling after witnessing some of the things that she witnessed, or how was she able to overcome some of the things that she saw?
You talk about the little counselor herself. That's the girl born on April the 2nd. She is a counselor.
Okay.
you know how you guys bounce back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's strong though. But yeah, she did therapy, but she more so was the therapist to to him. So he was like, she's okay.
Yeah.
Literally, she went twice, and he was like, she's okay. And she was okay. It's just that she was more so just worried about me. And that had been going on with her the whole entire time. And I didn't realize it because it used to always be, he used to hate it too. He'd be like, oh my God, all she do is call you. All she do is call you. All she do is call you. But she would call me in the midst of her hearing us argue.
Right.
And he'd be like, oh my God, all she do is call you. But that was her way of breaking it up. Like, mom, it's an emergency. Mom, it's an emergency. And then I would always go running or whatever. So she knew what she was doing the whole time. And she knew it would stop everything. But she did well. I mean, she's doing well. She did well. That's the one at the RN. She's doing well, you know.
Oh, that's amazing. That's good. Shanique, did you have to seek counseling or anything for your situation?
I did not at first. I completely shut down. I became an extreme hothead. I got into drinking very heavily. I got into smoking marijuana very heavily. And I became a very aggressive person. I was a fighter. You look at me wrong, I'm swinging. You say something wrong, I'm swinging. Like, I was always doing that. But it took my grandmother getting sick. And she told me, she said, the road you're going down, you're going to kill yourself. She said, if you don't kill yourself, somebody else will. She said, so I need you to make a promise. I need you to turn your life around. I need you to do better. I need you to empathize. I need you to stop being so aggressive and humble yourself. And it took my grandmother saying that to me for me to become humble and learn from it. And I still stick to it to this day. God rest her soul, but I still stick to it to this day, because if it wasn't for her saying that to me, I would have destroyed myself. So after that, I did get into therapy and stuff like that, but the therapy didn't stick as much as my grandmother's words to me.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the things that I did experience. I didn't start drinking until I was 35 and I was in that situation. I'm only 43. So my situation is really not that far removed because I'm only 43. And I started drinking heavily when I was 35 because it would mask the pain that was coming. And one of the counter things that happened is that when I met my now husband, I was so aggressive that I would fight him. He could say something wrong and I would just hit him. And I didn't realize that I needed to actually go have therapy until we were in the process of getting married, because I was getting abused and then I became the abuser. And that's not okay. It's for the roles to be reversed to where you become the abuser. You know, I have another question for you ladies. I was at a, like I said, I was at a gala and something came up and we talked about it. And again, I have my theory on this statement as well. But one of the questions that was asked to the panel that was there is, even though neither is good, do you feel that the physical abuse is better than the mental abuse? My opinion on that was yes, because the bruises go away. But I keep hearing what you said about me in my head over and over and over and over again. You know, so that
Absolutely.
doesn't go anywhere.
The
So you guys, ladies, tell me what your take is on that.
it's
I absolutely believe that the physical is better because, like you said, the scars go away. However, verbal abuse it like penetrates your heart, penetrates your mind. It sticks with you like none other, because you have people telling you, you ugly, I hate you, you'll never be nothing without me. I found you at the bottom, that's where you're gonna stay. So all of those words will play over and over on your mind because you'll be like, am I really worth it? Am I enough? Can I achieve something without this person? Can I be better without this person? So the words, they definitely stick with you more than the actual physical, because your physical you can heal, but mentally or spiritually or emotionally, it takes longer to heal than it does with the actual physical.
And with that, with the mental part, like you said, the physical, I mean, it hurts, but that mental, there's triggers that come with it afterwards. So even years down, it'll be triggers from something that they said to you. Until you get the help or whatever, there's triggers that'll make you think. I literally was 137 pounds. I wore a size 5 and I was fat to him. Oh, you just fat, you this, that, and the other thing. You got stretch marks, you got this, But if you looked at the book, if somebody else came up, they was like, well, she built. I mean, she got big legs, she got this, that. But to him, it was like, you're fat, you worthless. Look at you. I was older than him. Look at you, you older than me. You with me. Don't nobody want you, blah, blah, blah. You got 2 kids, you unmarried. It was constant over and over and over again. I remember sitting in the lunchroom with my coworkers and we were watching Maury Povich. Remember how Maury Povich used to do them abusive relationships?
Yep.
Well, with the guy having a woman sitting next to her and he wasn't even allowing her to speak. And it reminded me of me because we used to go places and like with friends and stuff like that. And he always wanted me to sit right next to you. Don't go over with the girls. Sit over here with me. And I remember my coworker, little Filipino nurse, and because I was the mouthy girl at work. I was the happy-go-lucky. I was the jokester. I was the big mouth, loud girl at work. And I remember she was like, "Girl, Michelle, if that was you, we know you wouldn't deal with anything like that." And I got up and closed the lunchroom door. And I told everybody at work, I said, "I'm being abused right now." I said, "This is what I deal with every day." I said, "I've been dealing with this for, it was 5 years." Then I'm like, "I've been dealing with this for 5 years." But they wouldn't have never known because who I was at work and who I was outside of work was 2 different people. Because it's the mask I had to wear, but it's the control. It's the, you're not allowed to do anything. But that mental thing, like he could call my job and just say one thing on the phone and it would hurt worse than the fist.
It would.
Like it would ruin my whole day. He could say one thing on the phone at 7:45 and until 4:30, I was just done, because it was something just nasty and mean said to you.
And you had something waiting on you when you got home because he said
You
it.
didn't want to go home, but you got to go home because,
So that brings me to probably one of my last questions, and then we're gonna open the floor for questions. You made a statement that actually resonates with me a lot with things that I see with women that I interact with on a day-to-day basis. The mouthy one away from home, but when they get home, they're hushed, right? So do you think that is a sign of some type of abuse happening at home or some level of control happening at home? Because I see that a lot with women that I deal with constantly, where they this, right? And it gives me red flags, because yes, I know how it was to be outside and be mouthy, but then at home you have to be quiet as a church mouse. You can't say anything. So do you think that is a sign, or some type of signs of that there's some type of abuse happening somewhere?
It could be a red flag. It definitely could be a red flag, because that definitely, when I walked in the door, it was like I went from 10 plus personality to 2.5. I
Wow.
mean, instantly. It's like my drive home, I'd be listening to music, and it's like I'd get about 4 blocks from the house, and then your heart starts to racing, and it's like, okay, I done turned into, Debbie Downer now, because, all right, I'm gonna get in the house. I gotta run in here, gotta do dinner real quick. I gotta make sure everything is to the T. Here he's gonna come in the house. He's gonna be in a good mood. He's gonna be in a bad mood. Is it gonna lead to something? Okay, I gotta get the kids situated. Try to get this. It was,
Yep.
and it's the front. So yeah, I think it is, because, like I said, I did the exciting, loud, boisterous part, so nobody would ever know. Like, my family did not know.
Mm,
They never knew. And like I said, we were together 6.5 years. My family did not know.
yeah.
The only person that did know was my dad, and I felt like he never rescued me when I would call him.
Mm-hmm.
But he was the talker. But then I found out that the reason why he explained to me the reason why he did talk was, he said he could tell that I wasn't done. And he said, now I would have shot this man. And he said, but I could tell you were gonna go right back to him every time I came up there.
Mm,
I can tell by your reaction that you were gonna turn right back around and go right back to. He said he's seen it. He said, I raised 6 daughters. He said, I've seen it. You gonna turn right back around and go back. He said, so why was I gonna take it to the next level till I see you already?
right.
So,
Shanique, what are
Yeah,
your thoughts on that?
I definitely say I would have to agree with that. It's some form of abuse, whether it's parentals or a spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend. I definitely think the mouthier women that are out there, and that's because that's where they think their voice can be heard. They can get their point across, or they can feel dominant over somebody else because they do have this person at home that is dominating them, controlling them, their every move or whatever. You know, that's their, I look at it as not a red flag. I look at it as their cry for help, because they necessarily don't know how to ask for it all the time. So sometimes, they become aggressive and you be like, what's wrong with you? Oh, I'm just going through a lot. And sometimes that's all it really takes to get them to open up and speak to you and let you know what's going on, so you can figure out a way to try to help them or point them in a direction where they can get help. But it's definitely a sign that there's something going on.
and
Wow.
you know what's crazy about that is that everybody always calls us the best couple. Oh, y'all the happiest couple, and say, but you would never know.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
They was, oh my God, we just thought y'all were perfect.
No, you can never
Yeah,
judge a book by its cover.
that's
We
very true.
we used to get that a lot, and I get that with Kevin now. And a lot of people don't know that in the beginning of our marriage, because of what I went through, I was the abuser. I was beating him for 3 years, you know. So, and people think, oh my gosh, y'all look so good together, y'all so happy together. Yep, I was whipping his just, just for nothing, it just, he could say boo, and it could be for nothing. So we're gonna open up for questions. If you are comfortable with asking your question, you can definitely raise your hand and I'll call on you to ask your question. If you're not comfortable with asking your question, feel free to type it in the chat section and I will read your question to you. Rowena.
I have a question, and it's only because I am very ignorant. So I come from the side of being the military member and the veteran. So I really have, outside of your guidance, I really have no insight on the military spouse community and the military spouse life. So I guess my question is, a lot of times, even in the military and veteran community, like I mentioned before, the military spouse is seen as less than and not really having a voice, and that makes them not want to speak up or want to suffer in silence. So what can we, as a military community, veteran community, or even advocates for military spouses, what is something that you think that we can do to make sure that we have a further understanding of domestic violence in the military spouse community, and to make sure that those military spouses know that it is okay to still report without losing possible benefits or anything like that? So what can we do to make military spouses, or to help military spouses not suffer in silence?
Well, I do know one thing is I do have a friend who is an actual spouse. And one of her things is she said she doesn't see in the military community where we have a safe haven where they can report their issues and stuff like that. So they have hotlines and everything else, but they have that fear of if I call this hotline, they figure out who I am, they go back and report it to my spouse or his commander or something, and then I'll get in trouble. There's a backlash or something like that. So I definitely think we need to come up with some kind of plan or idea, something to where we can provide a safe haven where they can voice their concerns, or if they want to get out, like show them how they can get out, help them get out, or just be an advocate for them, like speak on their behalf, where they can ask a question in private and you can bring it to the forefront without exposing who the person is that actually asked the question.
So one of the things I wanted to let you guys know, because that was an awesome answer and a great question. We definitely would like to charge you guys to help us push our initiative, to let people know that we are here. And we are the safe haven for that. I am actually the only military spouse in our circle. So I am the advocate for the military spouse. However, we have someone who works as a JAG officer in the Air Force that is the voice. So she gives us the legal backing and say, this is what we need to say, and this is what we need to type, and this is how we need to do this to get the word out. So when you guys are, when you see us sharing, we believe you, and hashtagging, we believe you, and different things of that nature, push it with us so that your friends that you may not even know is struggling with domestic violence can say, hey, I can reach out to these ladies, and male or female, and let them know that we are here to help and get the word out, and we will get them out as quickly as possible and as safe as possible without exposing them to whomever. And we have help on the inside that will allow us to get them the resources that they need so that they won't lose any of their benefits. They'll still get housing, their kids will still get taken care of. We have someone overseas. We have 2 ladies that are in the DMV area. And of course, I cover the southern side. So we have someone and people that can actually help get them out. So please push the initiative. Dominic, I think you had a question. You're on mute.
Yes, my question, well, you ended up answering it in the long run, because I was also a victim of domestic violence for about 4 years. And I didn't realize the impact that it actually had on me until I got into a relationship with someone that was actually good to me. And I found myself in the same predicament you was in, being abusive to him.
Right.
And I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know what it was in the beginning until after time went on, but he was patient with me and he stuck with me, and he's been with me for going on the last 3 years now. But that first year and a half was rough. I thought he was gonna bail out, but he did.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, my husband, we've been together almost 10 years now, and I'm grateful for his patience and allowing me the opportunities that I needed to heal, because I didn't realize how much damage I had went through and taken on. So I needed to actually heal through the process. And it's amazing when you have people that are willing to love you through your healing. When you don't have people that want to love you through your healing, and they just want to just throw you back off to the woods and throw you out into the street, it's hard for you to heal and overcome. So I'm grateful for the fact that he just took baby steps with me and he loved me through the healing. I was like, listen, I can't be with you. Even when we're dating, I was like, I cannot be with you. I can't do this. I need to get myself together, because I'm not right. That means I'm not going to be right for you. And he loved me through the healing, even when, I was trying to fight him, and he would just hold me and you can't hit me and different things like that. But I would always seem to get a hit or two in, even though.
So did you go through therapy or something for
I did. I went to anger management. I went to counseling and I went to anger management because I was angry. I was angry, like even with Michelle, she said that her father knew, but I was angry because I was in this relationship for 10 years and my uncles also would abuse me, right? So I was getting abused by my uncles as well as when I go home, I'm still getting abused. And I would talk to my grandmother about this. And because she was getting abused by her husband, before he passed away, she would just say, well, you know, you just got to do things differently. Clean up a little bit more, or, you know, don't say that, or don't look like this, or don't dress like that, or don't be like this. And I didn't understand how I'm coming to you and I'm telling you that I'm getting my tail whipped. Your sons are beating me. My dad is beating me. Everybody's beating me, and you're not doing anything about it. And you are supposed to be my safe space, and you're not doing nothing. And you're telling me that I need to change something? How does that work? You know, so I didn't understand until going through therapy and going through counseling, realizing that when our lineage are getting abused, they think it's okay. That's because this is how they dealt with back in their day. You know, you get abused, you go clean yourself up, and you go back down there and you cook dinner. Or you go down there and you clean up the house, or you go down there and you end up having sex, or you go down there and do whatever. But for my generation, it was not okay, you know, to get abused. And I don't want to do this. I don't want you to touch me. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want you to hold me. I don't want to hear your sorries, because my nose is busted. I got bruises. I need to figure out how I'm going to do this to go to work the next day, or go to school, or even talk to my children. And my grandma would say, just be nice. Don't say nothing. Just say okay. And I'm like, that's not life. So I had to actually go to therapy. I went to anger management because I was angry. And then I went to therapy to get some actual healing and help.
Can I ask you one more question real quick?
Yes.
I've been trying for years I don't know if anyone else has went through the same thing I did, but my abuse started as a child from my father. And I always felt like my mother didn't protect me as a child. And even now that I'm 40 years older, but I still have that kind of anger and animosity towards my mother, because even years now, I've tried to have some type of relationship with my mother and have sat down and tried to, discuss some of the things that I went through, not just me, but my sisters as well, growing up. And it's like she blames me as a child for what went on, like you shouldn't have done this, or you was a bad child, that's why you went through this and you went through that. And we don't have a relationship now at all because of that. And it kind of bothers me because I've attempted to have one with her, but I'm always, I get real angry with her because of some of the stuff that she says. So do you think I should just stop trying, or, how do I deal with, because I want a relationship with my mother, because I don't want to lose her and not have it?
So what I would say to you, and this is some things that I had to go with. Obviously, my mother didn't raise me, my grandmother did. So I was angry with my mom for a while. I actually didn't meet my mother until I was 15. My grandmother used to tell me that my mom doesn't love me. If she loved me, she wouldn't leave me, and all of that stuff. And my grandmother would allow my uncles to abuse me. She had 5 boys and 1 girl. And my aunt got married and left the house. And so I grew up with my dad as if he was my brother and his brothers. So I had 1 uncle that would touch on me, and all the rest of them would beat me. And I would always tell my grandmother, like, listen, they doing this to me. What are you going to do? Even when they would like fight me, she would always say, y'all stop that fight and leave that girl alone. But she wouldn't physically do nothing. Like, she could literally be sitting in one room and watch them whipping me in the other room. And they would fight me like men on the street. I had an uncle, I was in the tub and he busted in the bathroom and threw a radio into the tub. And if I didn't jump out, I would have been electrocuted. So this is the stuff that I dealt with. So I had to pray, one, and pray for my grandmother for her healing, and pray for myself to even be in a space to communicate with her. A lot of people ask me now, like, why do you even still talk to your grandmother? Because the forgiveness is for me, it's not for her. If I don't forgive her, I can't get the glory from God. So I had to pray to heal my heart so that I'm able to even just say hello to her and have a conversation with her just to see how she's doing. And then once she started going on her tangents, I'll just simply say, you know what, I'll talk to you later. And I'm gonna go ahead and hang up the phone. So just pray and ask God to heal your heart. And I'm going to pray for you to ask God to heal your heart so that you are even able to have a conversation with your mother. And it's not always, and sometimes I wish I could go back and talk to my grandmother about some of the things that she allowed me to endure, but I also know that it's going to still end up being my fault. So in order to not hurt myself, I don't even bring it up. I talk to people about it that I know I can be in a safe place with them and that they will understand. And I don't necessarily need their opinion, but sometimes I just want them to listen. So I would find that credible other to just listen to me when I'm in one of those moments, to just hear my heart as to why I had to deal with this, because what I had to undergo with my grandmother plus my uncles, it caused me to have trust issues with women. So my guard would be up because I felt like every woman that comes into my life, they're going to hurt me. So I had trust issues and I didn't want to get close to them or anything like that. So I had to pray, and ask God to heal my heart. And that's what I would suggest that you do, is pray and ask God to heal your heart, and just start with baby steps. Hey, Mom, I was just calling to see how you was doing. She'd tell you how she was doing. All right, and I'll talk to you later. Try again the next day. Hey, Mom, how you doing? And maybe the conversation go a little bit further and a little bit further as the days come to where you're able to have that conversation with her, but don't bring up the situations that happen. And when she starts talking crazy, you know what, Mama, go ahead and let you go. Because I don't even want that in my circle right now.
Absolutely. And sometimes you have to be okay. But I learned from my mom, because I actually went through a similar instance with that, where I was molested and stuff like that. And my mother said, well, you shouldn't have had that nightgown on. And I'm like, listen, it's a nightgown. That's what I'm supposed to have on, And I was angry with my mother for years. But I had to learn to be okay with never getting the answers, because she's not comfortable answering them. She can't acknowledge them because she has that guilt. She has that pain. She knew she wasn't there. But to this day, our relationship is still rocky, but it's better because every time she fall, she couldn't rely on none of my sisters or my brothers. She always called me, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? My mom literally hit rock bottom, where she lost her place, her marriage ended, everything. She hit rock bottom. You know what I did? I didn't ask her no questions. I didn't say nothing. I went and bought a bigger house with an in-law suite with her own bathroom. Here you go, Ma, move in. We don't have a conversation about what happened, because we tried one time and it ended up in a brawl. So I had to learn that I'm never going to get the answers that I want. She's never going to acknowledge it. She's never going to accept it. But her going through her turmoil, her pain, her suffering, that was her karma. So you let them have their karma on their end, and you do what you need to do for you. But at the same time, don't fester with those feelings. Don't hold them. Don't have no grudges. Don't do anything. You just have to move on and let the past be the past, because in the end, you're only going to keep hurting yourself, and you're only going to be angry because you're still letting it fester and linger and play in your mind. And sometimes you just got to learn to let it go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any more questions?
Yep, the forgiveness is for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Stephanie, yes.
Yes. I don't have a question, but I do have a situation.
Mm-hmm.
Probably from 2005 to about 2017, not me personally, but a witness of some domestic violence. My nephew, Marquise, he had a wife, and I wasn't at home, but when I did come home, You know, I witnessed the black eyes, the broke nose, the alcohol, the broken beds, the broken TVs, you know. But I don't know if anybody else has ever been a part of it, but some women, I think I've run into maybe one or two women that have had a conversation with me, but their reasoning is because I'm married to him and I love him, and religion played a big part in it.
Mhm.
They're like, I don't want to divorce him because he's my husband. I have to look after him. I have to do this, you know, I have to make sure he's okay, you know. And until probably 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago or two, she dealt with that for a long time. And, you
Mhm.
know, she used to sit me down and just say, well, Stephanie, you know, he's the father of my kids. You know, she had all the excuses, but, you know, she wasn't ready. So
Yeah.
all I could do was say to her, you know, I know you love him. You just have to make sure that you know what you're worth in the end, in the big scheme of things. You have to make sure you realize what you're worth. And it wasn't until maybe 2 years ago that she actually gave up and they got a divorce. But she endured that for a long time, and I witnessed looking at it. You know, it's even from the broke hands, you know, broken body parts, things like that. You know, it was rough to look at, but you know, I think she let religion, because she's very spiritual. You know,
Mhm.
so she
Yeah.
didn't want to get a divorce. So
Mhm.
she dealt with that for that long just because of that.
And
One
you
of the
that's crazy. Yeah.
one of the things that I hear a lot of women that we do talk to when we're doing the We Believe You say is that they stay because they think that they can make the situation better, right? They stay because they feel like if I continue to talk or if I continue to pray, then he or she is just going to do right. So that's why I stay. I
Mhm.
stay because, you know, I want to fix them. Because if you really think about the person that's getting abused, some of the people, and I'm sure you probably can agree to this about your nephew's situation, she probably was a nurturer, right? So she's a caregiver, she's a nurturer, I just want to fix it. So they stay in these situations and endure all of this stuff just because they in their mind, and it's a psychological thing. We feel like I can fix you. And if I stay and I help you and I kind of do this and do that, you're going to stop one day. I know you are. And I get the credit for saying that I fixed you, but that's not
That was me.
always the case.
That was me. And the crazy part about it, he was from his parent. His mother was abusive his whole entire life. It was abusive to him, was abusive to his sister, and everybody abandoned him. She abandoned him and his sister. They were in foster care. First, there was some family, foster care to foster care, foster care. Then when I met him, he was living with his aunt, and he was like, everybody has left me. I've never had nobody in my corner. And it was like, I'm not going to abandon you. I'm not going to leave you. Then I felt like I could fix. He was 12 years younger than me.
Wow.
So it was like, I'm not going to leave you. I can fix you. Then I realized that I'm not even his girlfriend anymore. I'm his mom.
Mhm.
I think I turned
Yes.
into his mom after a while. Like, because the intimacy part was gone, but I'm like, I can't abandon you. Like, I'm not gonna do what your mom did. I'm not gonna throw you out to the streets. I'm not gonna,
Mhm.
but it
I'm
was
gonna take,
everybody abandoned you. I'm not gonna leave you.
yep. I'm gonna take one more question, and then we're gonna wrap it up because it's almost at an hour point. Any questions? No. Okay. I'm gonna leave y'all with a story that I heard from. I had the opportunity to sit down with Tatonia Brown, and I'm sure you all have heard her story about the sex trafficking young lady that went through and was in jail because she killed her abuser, and she went to jail when she was like 13, 14, something like that. So I had the opportunity to sit down with her and speak with her and her now husband a couple of weekends ago. But while we were having that conversation, I met another young lady that lives here in Columbia who we're going to start working with. And she she had 5 daughters and 1 son. And one of her daughters would always say, Mom, my boyfriend is beating me. He said he's going to kill me. And she would just kind of brush it off her shoulders. And then sometimes she'll call the boyfriend and say, did you tell my daughter that you was gonna kill her? And he would say, no, I didn't tell her that. I don't know what she's talking about. And then the daughter would go back home. Fast forwarding, they had children, 2 children, and he was still beating her. And she would go home and say, Mom, he said this and he said that. One particular night, they all were at the mother's house together. The boyfriend, baby daddy was at home, and they were all at the mother's house. And he called her and he said, if you don't hurry up and get home, I'm going to come over there and shoot and kill everybody in the house. So she goes and tells her mom, this is what he said. The mother calls back and said, did you say you was gonna come to my house and shoot up and kill everybody in my house? No, I didn't say that. I don't know what she's talking about. I'm just messing around, whatever. Daughter leaves, goes home, right? So one of the other daughters had just broken up with her boyfriend and had to move back home, her and her baby. The mom assumed that the daughter who's with the abuser was just over there to just hang out with her sister. No big deal. She saw her coming over there a lot. She was spending the night. She thought she was there hanging out with her sister, helping her sister get over her relationship, right? She didn't put 2 and 2 together, that something was wrong or that the daughter was running from him again. Because every time the daughter ran from him, she went to her mother's house, but her mother would just ignore some of the signs, right? Because her life is so busy. This particular day, the mom gets up, she leaves, and apparently she has cameras on the inside and outside of her home. She got up, she left, went somewhere. The boyfriend called to see if the mother was home. She was like, nah, my mom not here, whatever. They on the phone arguing back and forth. He comes to the house. She's downstairs cooking dinner or whatever for her children. The other sister's upstairs on the phone with another sister while her baby is napping. That sister upstairs hears them arguing downstairs. She comes downstairs. She tells the boyfriend, his name is Tyrone. She said, Tyrone, get out my mama's house. You know my mama don't want you here. You need to just go ahead and leave my mama's house. He says he's not leaving. The sister on the phone calls the mother somehow and says Tyrone is at the house. The mom turns on the video camera. In the midst of the mother turning on the video camera, Tyrone pulls out a gun and he shoots the sister from upstairs and the sister from downstairs and killed both of her daughters at the same time, all because the mom did not take the daughter coming to her saying he's going to kill us seriously. So now this mother has to live with the loss of 2 daughters and raise her daughter's children. And she saw it because when she turned the camera on, he had shot the daughter from upstairs because she jumped in front of the gun to protect her sister. And that other sister had her back turned and he shot her in the back and killed her. So I say all of that to say that when we have friends and family that are coming to us and they're telling us that they're in situations, whether it is mental abuse or physical abuse, we can't ignore the signs and say, just everything gonna be okay. Go back to the house. I'm gonna call and talk to so-and-so and see what they're saying. No, we need to find ways to get them out of those situations because you never know how long this has been going on, what that person is actually saying to them. And is this going to be the last time that they can come to us and tell us that they're being abused? So just take that as, a little nugget when you hear or see something. So again, I thank you all for getting on tonight. We truly, truly appreciate you. Again, my name is Visionary Tanya Rankins. I am one of the founding members of We Believe You SOS, which is Saving Our Survivors. And we ask you guys to stand behind our initiatives. We actually have a 5K coming up. So please be a part of our 5K, get you some t-shirts. I will drop the link. Once this is over, the video actually will be up on YouTube as well. So if anybody wants to send it to someone, you can send it to them via YouTube. So we'll have a link up for YouTube as well. Thank you to our panelists tonight, Ms. Shanique Color and Ms. Michelle Mapp. I appreciate you ladies from jumping on and sharing your story. I know that was kind of difficult, but I definitely appreciate you for doing that. And thank you all for getting on with us. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for the invite.
Visionary, my computer is froze at the bottom and I cannot get.
Was Dominique trying to get on?
Yeah, that's what it looks like, but I don't know.
Did you stop the recording?
Let me stop it now.